All right, so this week we are looking at Parallel. Parallel is a sci-fi genre trading card game built on the Echelon ecosystem. The game involves augmented reality properties and has a very successful NFT collection that is already being traded. At some point in 2021, it was the top 10 NFT collections on OpenSea. The native token Prime is not launched yet, but it is going to be used in the Echelon ecosystem at large and within the Parallel trading card game as well. Parallel is backed by Paradigm as well as Chad Hurley, who is the co-founder of YouTube, among other strategic investors. Three key highlights that I would go into before starting is that it received a $50 million funding round from Paradigm at a $500 million valuation in 2021. So lots of fodder to work with to sort of develop the game, along with the very successful NFT collection. It targets a huge market of trading card games that have always involved real money trades and applies novel elements to it like sci-fi storyline, AR, and play to earn. It has a strong NFT ecosystem even before the game details were out. So just going into the gameplay first, the core loop involves a one versus one sort of turn-based battle involving a strategic selection of cards belonging to any one deck and one parallel. So there are 4 parallels, and each parallel, you can create a deck out of any one parallel only, and one deck includes 40 cards. So you'll have to have 40 NFTs that represent these cards in order to be able to play the game. So we see how the NFT technology really helps you to kind of have that kind of, ownership of trading card experience and unique card, and that players can kind of create decks using. The ladder mode within the gameplay will involve player versus player games and will impact player rankings. The sector mode will involve lower stake battles, either against other players or against the environment, and will not affect ranking. The rookie queue, this is an important feature, which would be a player limited free-to-play game mode. So only a limited number of players can enter this free-to-play game mode for onboarding new but uncommitted players onto the game. This mode will provide sort of players with a rookie deck that is non-tradable. Players that are given this deck can then try battles with other players in the same mode with the same deck category. But of course, it doesn't affect their ranking, doesn't lead to any earning. And this deck cannot be traded. Now, the market design, the global kind of card game market size last year was around $12 billion. While TCGs involved real money trades, so trading card games involved real money trades, there was no way for developers to capture this value, the secondary trading value. Parallel solves that problem by being able to charge on secondary NFT market sales. Primarily, this game caters to achievers and socializers and the investor player types. In terms of thickness, while the Prime token is yet to be rolled out, the core Parallel NFT collection has nearly 50,000 owners with a trade volume of 65,000 ETH on OpenSea. And this does not include all of the other offshoot NFT collections that are kind of connected to the game. When it comes to mechanism design, there's a whole range of kind of staking options based on tiered NFTs. So based on which tier of NFT you stake, you get Prime token rewards. So this leads to token emissions and accumulation of fees. And the DAO is currently voting on proposals to set this plan in stone. The other source of token allocation would be gameplay via wins between players or versus the environment. And then the tiered NFTs will be currently priced in ETH, but eventually it will be priced in the native token Prime. Prime token proposal has passed recently and it is yet to be fully implemented. Now, when it comes to token design, so what I like about at least the white paper and the proposal for this game is that it takes into account faucets and sinks and very clearly, and also ensures that sinks involve not only tradable assets like in Axie, but also non-tradable assets. All right. So in that case, these sinks kind of are, you can even think of them as permanent sinks. And so you can just see sort of like the visuals for what the faucets would look like on a very general level and what the sinks would look like on a very general level. And then when it comes to the sinks, there's a kind of a greater kind of description of what these sinks will be in terms of both tradable and non-tradable assets or experiences. All right. Now, when it comes to sort of financial incentives, as I explained earlier, you can stake NFT assets and these will be tiered. So based on which tier you stake, you earn varying levels of Prime tokens. Now, rewards, even though they accrue, they can only be accessed in monthly cycles. Special rewards, according to tiers of NFTs, also exist. So stakers of masterpieces, which is a certain tier, earn 5% of royalties every time a matching card is sold. Now, there are other rules for other tiers of NFT that I won't go into at the moment. Now, 10% of all parallel NFT sales are charged as fees, some of which go to the treasury and some of which go to the team. This split is not yet disclosed on the white paper. Now, when it comes to risk of this ecosystem, systematic risk that I can think of is that the Prime token is used both in-game and outside the game in the Echelon ecosystem. Now, because the case study was focusing on the parallel game, I didn't get to go into the Echelon ecosystem in much detail. But the Echelon ecosystem is a wider ecosystem within which this game is being built. This wider ecosystem is where the Prime token will also be used for governance. And it provides a whole suite of game development as well as game and price oracle capabilities on which other games can then be built. Now, what might be suitable for the Echelon monetary policy might not be suitable for parallel. So this could lead to sort of a conflict of interest in between how the Prime token monetary policy should kind of take place. And this can be solved by introducing a game-specific utility token and by letting parallel or by letting Prime be both a ecosystem equity and a governance token only. When it comes to idiosyncratic risks, the physical requirement of augmented reality might prove to be a barrier to maintain kind of game stickiness over time, because it is kind of a demanding act to make players pick up their phones and move outside their homes. Although, Pokemon Go did kind of push players to do that for a certain period of time, perhaps kind of this risk can be mitigated by kind of involving a blend of AR and virtual gaming experiences, one for the novelty and the other one for long-term stickiness. So just to wrap things up, why I find this project interesting is that kind of it takes on a big addressable market with a unique product. So the addressable market being trading card games, the unique product being kind of this blend of AR, NFTs, and tradable card games. It also kind of taps into this big secondary economy that is untapped, which is the secondary market trading of cards that card game developers do not really have much ability to kind of draw from that value that they were creating. Now there is a way to draw from that value. The strong strategic backing from industry leader Paradigm Research, with the $50 million round and that valuation, it could be interesting to look out for how this project grows, or if it fails, why it fails. Card games are a relatively easy to design but hard to play game. So this is, I think, a perfect combination for a play-to-earn game where the game designers have kind of a good idea of how kind of the economy will look or how the rules of the game are and have very few rules to design for the game, while the game still being interesting and there being room for skill expression. So this is a good genre for play-to-earn games to kind of look into. And that's the last reason why I found this project interesting. Any questions?
So I really like the part where we tap into the skill expression, because this is exactly why crypto comes into play. Because a lot of games like idle games that we've done a lot of case studies, as well as just simple games, there's no skill base in there, and so there's no stickiness in having these assets being tokenized. Right. When it's a form of skill expression, your token is a representation of that. So that's actually quite interesting. Mm-hmm. They're more tradable. The tradable card game is growing as a genre. Mm-hmm. A lot of AAA games are moving into that, and there are some games around that. Kiefer, is Splinterlands considered a card game?
I believe they would be.
But they're just less tech, as in there's no AR there. It's just NFTs and tradable cards, right?
Yeah. I think NFT trading card game. There's not an AR component to it.
So one other thing when it comes to the risk is Prime. So why is Prime used in the bigger picture of the Echelon ecosystem?
I believe this was kind of the proposal of the community was to first release Prime for the Echelon ecosystem. And then the parallel game kind of came to be built on the Echelon ecosystem. Okay. And they decided to use Prime within their ecosystem as well. So
it's the same developer building both the blockchain technology as well as the game itself?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Kind of like XC building the RON and the game. Okay. So Prime was first built for the Echelon ecosystem.
Yeah.
Then they want to increase utility by including it in the game itself.
Correct.
Okay. And which is more developed right now? The utility in the blockchain layer or utility in the game?
The token is actually, the proposal has just passed, so it's yet to be implemented.
Okay. And what is inside the proposal?
They have a kind of a whole pseudo proposal for how Prime should be used, both separately for the Echelon ecosystem and separately for the parallel.
Okay. Do we know what is the main utility of using it in both ecosystems?
In Echelon governance, or accessing the various suite of kind of functionalities that they have, one of which is game oracles. So they have a game oracle that allows you to sort of like view the results of a game and then trigger blockchain-based action based on the results of a game where the gameplay is being off-chain. Things like that. That's where the Prime token is used on Echelon. And for Parallel, it'll be for both in-game utility as well as governance.
In-game utility as a currency or something else?
So when players win a match, they win, for example, Prime tokens.
Okay, got it.
The parallel game seems to be a lot more developed in the sense that their NFT collection is already kind of widely sold. There are like rappers and celebrities that own some of these NFTs. Whereas Echelon, I don't know too much about it at the moment.
When is the gameplay live? Do we have a general idea?
It's set to be 2022, but I forgot the rollout date.
I noticed you mentioned there was a limited number of free-to-play players. Yeah. Is there any NFT or token earning potential for those players? And is there anything notable about how those limited number of users are selected?
So this game mode was described literally in a paragraph. So they did not really explain much about kind of how players might earn. My kind of sense was that this is completely onboarding, and the limitation is in order to kind of like not create a bottleneck for the game or maybe on-chain aspects of the game. And yeah, I'm not sure what the earning potential is. I believe that the earning potential begins once people move from the rookie queue into the core loop or into the ladder mode. Yeah. So I guess this is kind of like the glass cannon thing, where although in the glass cannon example, there might have been opportunities to earn. But in this case, I think because rookie queue players only get matched with other rookie players, and there are only non-tradable assets involved. So I think it would be a big risk to have any earning component over here because it's completely free to play.
Yeah, makes sense. So probably the limitation component is just more on like the technical back end of hosting players. Yeah,
I think Heroes of Mavia definitely does it a little better, where the free-to-play component can still involve earning via skill expression, and kind of although it's free-to-play, you can start kind of investing in various like sinks in order to kind of get in-game benefits. The rookie queue seems to be kind of a little different in the sense that even though it's trying to onboard players, it's kind of divorced from the rest of the gameplay.
Yeah, but trading card games do pretty heavily revolve around like purchasing card packs as the primary monetization. Right. So it doesn't lend itself quite as well to a normal free-to-play monetization tactic.
My main question here is that, like Kiefer mentioned, you need to purchase card packs in order to boost your deck, right? So in order to play, you would need 40 cards. Do you purchase these cards individually, or are there like starter decks up for grabs or to be purchased on the marketplace?
My understanding is you purchase these cards individually. They're all unique NFTs, and you have to keep track of kind of which parallel they are in. Because if you have, if you purchase 40 cards which form a deck, but 10 of them are from one parallel, 10 from the other, and so on and so forth, you actually would not be able to form a complete deck. So you have to go out and actually do a little bit of research on how to actually form a full deck.
Are these NFTs already out? So do you have an idea of the pricing of it?
Good question. I know like some of them have sold for upwards of $100,000 to $1 million for one NFT, but I think the floor price is much lower. I believe, I think in some cases 0.01 ETH, which would make a lot more sense.
Okay, so like there's really a price barrier to the game, if that's the case, especially if you want to be like a competitive player inside. I would say that kind of some of these NFT sales have occurred primarily because of the art and the hype around the game, rather than because the gameplay details are yet to be completely released. So people don't know actually which of these NFTs are going to have a lot of, carry a lot of power in the game, or, things like that. So that is something to keep in mind.